All right, once again, we're all welcome. Today's class, we will be taking the competency modeling, and we'll be taking the Iceberg competency model. So for the sake of those who are yet to join the class, we will quickly get the class streamed on YouTube, and it can be shared afterwards. So I may not take the class, break down the class, just have to flow through the class, and we'll take questions afterwards. Okay. So yesterday we started with strategic human resource management, where we spoke about strategic human resource being a proactive way of aligning HR strategies to business strategies, and HR strategies with HR strategies, and HR strategies with the external environmental strategies to deal with business performance, individual performance, and societal performance. So today we are going to be looking at the competency iceberg model. One of the things we spoke about yesterday is that the resource-based view theory that states that the quality of an organization is dependent on the quality of the people within the organization. In the same vein, when we talk about quality of people, we're talking about their competencies, we're talking about their capacities, we're talking about their knowledge base, we're talking about their skills. All right, so the quality of skills, the quality of knowledge, the quality of capacity within an organization in form of human capital determines the reputational quality of the organization. So we're knowing fully well that competency is key to organizational performance. We'll be looking at this aspect in a moment. So I will take this. We'll take this section in about 1 hour, and then 1 hour or less, and then we'll go and have a break. Like I said, this class is an overflow of yesterday's class. So for those who are writing exam today, after this section to this morning, you are to prepare for your exam, and then your class for today actually holds by 2 p.m. So we only have one class for today. This class is a yesterday class, so the class of today will hold by 2 p.m. West African time. All right. Okay. So I believe you've been hearing me all this while. That's why I've been talking. So please kindly confirm that you can hear me loud and clear. If you can hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 1 in the chat room. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, kindly type 1 in the chat room. All right, thank you so much. So I'm doing this class from my house, and there could be some infiltrations of noise from the background. So please kindly bear with me as we take through this program together. Okay, let's just kindly bear with us. Okay, so Iceberg competency model. First of all, question is, what is competency? And what is the relationship between competency and performance? What is the relationship between competency and productivity? Those are the things we are going to be looking at in this section. And then how do you structure competencies to meet up with certain performance expectations? Remember, we said strategic human resource management is a proactive way of managing people. All right, so it's analytical. It is a scientific way of managing people better to deliver better results. Okay, managing people better to deliver better results. That's the Iceberg competency, right? Okay, so in a moment, we'll just look at this. Now, I'm going to take the introductory aspect of this competency section, and then we'll have another section on competency mapping. Now, competency mapping will help us to be able to have the linkage between performance traits, performance skills, performance characteristics to performance expectations. So how do we draw the link between the kind of skills, the kind of traits, the kind of the kind of knowledge needed to achieve a particular kind of result. We'll be doing that in a competency mapping. However, I will also want to remind us, for those of us who are joining from level 1, okay, if you've not made payment for your study materials and access fee, please, we encourage you to do so, because from next week, we'll only take those who have made commitment for the course. All right. Thank you so much. And I believe you know what the commitment are. So let's quickly look at what this whole competency thing is all about. So we hear competency, competency, competency. Sometimes we don't really bother to know what the whole competency is all about. Competency is a compound word bearing in it several components. So we'll look introductorily, we'll look at what is competency, we'll look at the components of competency, and then we'll look at the types of competency, we'll look at the model we are looking at, the Iceberg model, competency model, and then we'll look at the benefits of the Iceberg model. Now, like I said, we'll have another section where we'll now do practically what the mapping is all about. How do you link the competency to certain performances? How do you create KPIs that will be matched with particular set of competencies to deliver certain levels of performance, right? So that's what we're going to be dealing with. But in this section, it's just an introductory aspect of what competency is all about. So we need to understand what competency is all about. And if you've made payment and you've not gotten your study material for this particular level, please ensure to send us your proof of payment in finance@ipmi.org. And as soon as you get your material, please, I'm making an appeal. As soon as you get your material, don't wait till class comes before you study your material. The associate level is actually the largest level in the HR course. It is the highest level, but we are constrained by time and a whole lot of things that we are now bringing all the classes. Like we are picking some of the classes, and then not all are taken. Now, if you open your study material link, you'll find close to 20 courses there, 20 courses. Our recommendation is that you take your time and read all, okay? Take your time and study all. Please don't just study the ones that we are teaching or the ones we are carrying our practicals on. Please take time and study all. Most of them are theoretical, but a whole number of them are practical enough. So please take your time and study all. You will see different, you will see different things that need to be dealt with. Okay, so as soon as you get that link and you download the materials, start studying. Or most of those materials also have been taught in different sections, and you could find them on our YouTube channel. So you could go to our YouTube channel and search out for some of those sections. And then you could watch, listen, and then compare what you've read with what you've heard. Okay, all right. By introduction, David Schneider is a highly qualified individual. He has the right mix of skills and knowledge that is required to work as a sales executive. However, his actual job performance is nowhere near what is expected from a man possessing skills and knowledge that David has. His actual job performance does not match the expected job behavior of a man of David's caliber. So what's wrong? What is it that makes David an ideal candidate but stops him from actually performing his job? The answer to this lies in the word competency. Competency is a combination of skills, job attitude, and knowledge which is reflected in job behavior that can be observed, measured, and evaluated. Let us now learn more about the competency and the competency iceberg model. Now, if you look at what we have there, you will see the iceberg, right? You see iceberg, and then you see what the model conveys. So in the model, you have first, in the deepest of it all, you have the motives, you have the traits, you have the self-image, you have the values, and you have the knowledge and the skills. Now, what this means is that Iceberg model does not only look at the skills and knowledge only. It starts from the root of it all, the motive behind every individual trying to get a job, behind every individual trying to do certain levels of, achieve certain levels of performance. Okay, so these are the things we'll be looking at in this course. So question number one, what is competency? Competency refers to skills or knowledge that leads to superior performance. Competencies are individual abilities or characteristics that are key to effectiveness in work. Competencies are not fixed and casually be developed with effort and support. Competencies can apply at organizational, individual, team, and occupational and functional levels. Competent is when a person is qualified to perform to a requisite standard of the process of a job. Competence, on the other hand, means the condition or state of being competent. So all of this definition, competencies referring to skills and knowledge that leads to superior performance, competencies, abilities, or characteristics that are key to effectiveness in the workplace, competencies not being fixed and can be developed, competencies being applied at different levels from organizational to individual to team to occupational and functional levels, and all of that. We're going to find in each keyword, competencies are definitely about having the right mix of knowledge, of skills, of capacities and abilities and behavior to be able to perform to a certain performance, to certain performance standards. Okay, so in all of what we are going to be doing in competency work, our assignment is how do we get competent people that can deliver certain levels of performance. So with all of what we've said, like in the case study we just reviewed, it is possible that someone could be competent but not performing. All right, someone could be competent but not performing. When we fix the right people in the wrong job, there is a problem. The person has the right skills, the person has the right attributes, but the job that he has been given is the wrong job for him. All right, that makes the person, though he's considered to be competent, but performing is difficult. So in the competency mapping, what we want to be sure is that we are placing the right people in the right jobs. Okay, that's all we want to achieve by the end of this competency program that we're running. Okay, now, some of the examples of competencies required by employees are the adaptability competency, motivation competency, commitment competency, creativity, independence, analytical reasoning, foresight, leadership, emotional stability, and communication skill, among others. These are just some of the examples of the competencies of employees are expected to have. Now, the history of competency. In the late 1960s, the occupational competency movement was initiated by Dr. David McClelland, who was a professor of psychology at the Harvard Business School. McClelland found that traditional tests such as academic aptitude and knowledge tests did not predict success in the job. Since this find, and even during the early 70s, leading organizations having been using competencies to help recruit, select, and manage their outstanding performance. A supporting research conducted by McClelland found that students who did poor in universities, as long as they passed, did just well in life as the top students. Through this, McClelland proved that superior performance is not always measured by test scores, but rather related to hidden traits and qualitative behaviors. And one of your key assignments as a HR is to look beyond paper, to look beyond certificates, and identify these hidden competencies that people could have and that could bring the best results to your organization. So we won't always depend on tests and results, tests and papers to be able to say someone could be a high performer or not. Okay. Now, looking at the components of competencies, you have the component of skill, you have the component of knowledge, you have the component of You have the component of self-image. You have the component of values. You have the component of traits. And then you have the motive. Now, let's start from the last one, motive. So motive has to do with what factors, what psychological factors or physiological factors that drive your behavior. What are the objectives? What are the intents? Okay, that is motive. Then you have the other side of skills. The skills has to do with to what extent someone can perform to the ability he has. Knowledge talks about the level of information you've acquired. Knowledge on its own is not information. Knowledge on its own is not enough, but it gives us a certain level of information, which when managed and when applied, it produces results. So knowledge on its own does not produce results. Self-image talks about someone's reputation. Of course, we know that reputation is part of competency. The way you look is part of who you are, your personality. Then your values, what do you believe in? What are the things you believe in? What don't you believe in? The traits talks of the enduring behaviors, the enduring characteristics someone has, the long-lasting characteristics that someone has. So all of these things joined together make up competence. Now, if you look at this, basically, you find that it is easy for you to assess skills because it is certifiable. It is easy for you to recognize knowledge because it is certifiable. Now, self-image, values, traits, and motives. These are like the software that drives skill and knowledge, but they are not certifiable, right? So you could have a trace of reviewing this, maybe in a CV, job experiences, relevant work done, and all of that relevant workshop attended. You could use some of them to try to evaluate the self-image, the values, the traits, and the motives, things like that. But on a more serious note, we need to be much more in-depth. We need to be much more, we need to do much in-depth interviewing to be sure that the motives, the traits, the values, the self-image are beyond what we are seeing there on the paper. Okay, very, very important. Now, looking at the types of competencies, we have brought the competencies divided into two broad categories. You have the basic competencies and you have the professional competencies. Basic competencies, they are existent in all individuals, but only their degree of existence differs. For instance, problem solving is a competency that exists in every individual, but in varying degrees. So competencies, there are basic competencies that everyone is expected to have. However, these competencies are now in varying degrees based on the level of information available to the person possessing the competence, based on the level of information available, the level of knowledge and the level of skill available to the person possessing the competency, right? Then you have the professional competencies. They are job related and are above the competency, above the basic competency. For example, handling a sales call effectively is a competency that the salesperson will be required to have. Now, while the basic competency is what everyone is expected to have, the professional competencies are the ones that pertains to your job. For instance, recruitment is a competency, but the level of application of recruitment knowledge may differ. Okay, recruitment competencies on application may differ from one person to another based on trainings attended, workshops attended, level of exposure, practice level, and all of that. So we have the basic and then we have the professional, right? Now, so for us to say we are fully competent, competencies will be a combination of both the basic competencies and the professional competencies. I remember we said competencies are things you can build, right? So for the basic ones, we'll build them to become much more competent. Okay. all right? Your problem-solving skills, you through knowledge, through training, through different sort of exposure, we build more on problem solving, we build more on decision-making, we build more on visioning, we build more on leadership, we build more on emotional intelligence, we build more on dialoguing, on negotiation, and all of that, okay? And then we have the professional competencies too, that we also build through effective trainings. Still, on types of competencies, we have the basic competencies as following. We have the intellectual competencies, those which determine the intellectual ability of a person. We have the motivational competencies, those which determine the level of motivation in an individual. We have the emotional competencies, those which determine an individual's emotional quotient. They will have the social competencies, those that determine the level of social ability in a person. So these are the different kinds of basic competencies that we have. Then some examples or some classifications of professional competencies. We have the generic competencies. They are those which are considered essential for all staff, regardless of their function or level. That is things like communication, program execution, processing, tools, linguistic, and so on. These competencies include broad success factors not tied to specific work function or industry. They usually focus on leadership or emotional intelligence behaviors. That's the generic competencies. Then you have the managerial competencies. They are those which are considered essential for staff with managerial or supervisory responsibility in any service or program. Some examples of managerial competencies are the customer orientation, organizing skills, cross-functional perspectives, planning skills, execution skills, analytical skills, decision-making, delegation, and leadership. These are examples of the managerial competencies. Then we'll have the functional or the technical competencies, where they are specific competencies which are considered essential to perform any job in any organization within a defined technical or functional area of work. Some examples of functional or technical competencies are the business awareness, business skills, technical skills. Whichever one, our assignment is to keep building both our basic competencies and our professional competencies, our basic competencies and our professional competencies. And that's why we need to put it to heart at all times, have an effective training and development program or training and development plan for ourselves, because it takes us to know more, to be able to do more, all right? It takes us to be much more in developing our competencies for us to harness all the opportunities that will be coming to us, all right? So importantly, let's pay attention to building more of our competencies. Categories of competencies. We have the threshold competencies, and we have the, we have the threshold competencies, and then we have the differentiating competencies. Just by the word threshold, you could imagine what that means. And then by the word differentiating, you could also imagine what that means. Now, by threshold competencies, these are the essential characteristics that everyone in the job needs to be minimally effective. However, this does not distinguish superior from performance, okay, from average performance. Now, you have basic competencies, right? Everyone should, for everyone to be in this organization, they should have this sort of competencies. Then you have the differentiating competencies, just as the name is differentiating. It distinguishes superior performance from average performance and from low performance. Now the question is, starting from us personally, the question is, what are the distinguishing competencies that we have as individuals relative to what we are doing, relative to our workplaces? Are we just the same with others, or there is something a little different from us? You know, in Africa, we have this culture of earn before you learn. But in actual sense, it is learn before you earn. Anybody that pays attention to his or her personal development is following the right principle of learn before you earn. But we have people who are much more convinced with the normal, like go to school, have a BSc. Should there be any other school to go to? Just have an MSc. Should there be any other school to go to? Just have a PhD. That's just a norm. Okay, so we have the minimum requirement to be in an environment, but not everyone takes that personal responsibility to go for professional training, to do something extra that could differentiate him or her from the norm. Okay, and that's why in places like Africa, we still have unemployment on a rise, because we have 99.9% of the people in the labor market, all with almost the same competencies. And these same competencies are the things we don't even want to hire, because we feel like they don't have the added advantage to be the best in what they are doing. One of the reasons that employers don't hire fresh graduates in Nigeria is because they believe they will spend a lot in training and retraining them. And then there's this fear that what if after training and retraining them, they vanish? So the best option a graduate has, the best option that someone who wants to do better has, is take care of your trainings, take care of your training needs, and then let the opportunity come that will pay you back whatever thing you've invested. Okay, so we prepare ourselves for opportunity, not that we wait for opportunities to come before we then prepare ourselves. All right. In the same vein, as a HR, in competency mapping, all we are interested in is first finding out the threshold competencies, and then finding out the extra that could make that person a superior performer. Okay, finding out the extra that could make the person a superior performer. And let me say this very quickly, that someone has a certificate in HR does not mean that the person can do well in HR. So you also need to do due diligence in your interview to be sure that that person that has a HR certificate, that has a project management certificate, that has an IT certificate, is not just carrying paper, but can deliver to the results required from the expected competencies associated with the certification. All right. This is very important for us, HR. So what's a threshold competency? A threshold competency, it is important to understand whether competencies are unique to a particular job or whether they are generic in nature. According to McBar research, 12 characteristics were identified related to the managerial effectiveness, whereas 7 were found to be threshold competencies. Every job at any level in the organization will have a threshold competency. That's the minimal qualifications someone is expected to have to be able to work in a particular level. Threshold competencies or threshold competency is the barest minimum required to perform the job. It is summarized as a quality that a person needs in order to do a job. It differs from competency such that it does not offer any aid in distinguishing superior performance from average and poor performance. So a threshold competency is acquired or is a must-have for both top performance, middle performance, and low performance. Now, what are the core competencies? What are core competencies? Core competencies are the competencies that help transcend any single business event within the organization. It is important for organizations to identify, develop, and manage organizational core competencies that drive large enterprise critical projects. This is so because some projects are so complex and massive that it is impossible for a single individual to possess the competencies required to successfully complete a project. Then we have the workplace competencies. The workplace competencies are focus on individuals instead of the organization. Therefore, workplace competencies may vary by job positions. The unit of measure is people rather than the business. Now, core competencies versus workplace competencies. Looking at them from different perspectives, from the angle of scope, core competencies are organization focused, while workplace competencies are individual focused. By purpose, core competencies are strategic, while workplace competencies are tactical. By participants, core competencies are business unit driven, while workplace competencies are worker driven. By tasks, core competencies are focusing on the processes, organizational processes, while workplace competencies are focusing on the individual activities to be carried out. On the competencies themselves, core competencies are global, they are standard, they are global, all right? While workplace competencies are position-based, they pointing to the individual occupying a particular post. Who identify competencies? Competencies can be identified by one of more of the following category of people. You have the experts, you have the HR specialists, job analysts, psychologists, industrial engineers, in consultation with line managers, current and past role holders, supervising seniors, reporting and reviewing officers, internal customers, subordinates of the role holders. So anybody in this category can help in identifying competencies. Of course, you cannot talk about talent management without talking about competencies. When we talk about talent management, we are talking about hidden competencies that not everyone may identify. So you may need people who have in-depth knowledge and practice in this area of talent acquisition, talent management, HR management, to be able to identify these competencies. Now, quickly, let's look at some myths about competencies. Some myths. Myth simply means some information that are not really true about a certain matter. So let's look at some of the myths. What are some of the beliefs that people have that are not necessarily true? Number one, competency is a state of being that provides qualification to perform. This is a myth, that competency is a state. However, we've been able to clarify that competency is what we build. So it's not a state, rather, it's something we consciously build, okay? We build on it to keep improving on ourselves. It is in relation to performance, a necessary but not sufficient condition. Competencies cannot guarantee that workers will perform adequately, okay? Competencies does not guarantee that workers will perform adequately. This is in relation to what we looked at in the case study we reviewed. Someone could be I could actually be competent, but not performing in a particular job. Because when you have the right people in the wrong job, there is no way they will perform. Okay, there is no way they will perform. Then you also have the myth that, however, workers cannot perform to standards without competencies. Extremely competent workers may fail on the job due to a variety of personal or environmental factors, whereas some others that lack competencies can make up for a lot of shortcomings with exceptionally hard work. Competence is necessary, but it cannot guarantee results. Hence, it is important that organizations should not confuse competency measurement with performance measurement. Competencies are about being qualified to do the work, whereas performance is the result of the actual work. Types of competency characteristics. We have the skills, we have the self-concept, the motives, the traits, and the knowledge. From the skills, the ability to perform a certain physical or mental task, that is a skill. Knowledge, information a person has in specific content. Self-concept, a person's attitude, values, or self-image. Traits, physical characteristics, and consistent responses to situations or information. Motives, things about which a person consistently thinks about or wants, and that which causes action. Motives drive, direct or select behavior towards certain actions or goals or away from others. Now, every competency is expected in it to have a variety of skills, knowledge, self-concept, traits, motives, right? Now, quickly, let's describe the Iceberg competency model, which is essentially what we are looking at. The Iceberg competency model, or the Iceberg model for competencies, takes the help of an iceberg to explain the concept of competency. And you know, the iceberg is considered, some call it the 90-10 principle. The 90-10 principle. In safety, when we say iceberg principle, as regards to risk management, we say 90% of the risk could be hidden. You only see 10%. And that 10% is, it cannot be the root cause of the matter. So the 10% you're seeing are just, they are just a little of what the problem is, right? So you need to go deep down to find out what the problem is. An iceberg is also what we find in the sea. So call it sea rock, okay, sea rock or ice bag, okay, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you've ever watched Titanic, the object or the what led to the breakage of Titanic was that Titanic hit an iceberg. The iceberg was small on the surface, but deep down it was large enough to break the ship. So iceberg principle demands that we don't just look at the peripherals, we look deep down to find out the roots of certain events. Now, an iceberg has just 1/9 of its volume above water, that's the 90-10. It has just 10% of it above the water level. Okay, and the rest remains beneath the surface in the sea. Similarly, a competency also has some components which are visible, like knowledge and skills, but other behavioral components like attitude, traits, thinking style, self-image, organizational fitness, and all of that are hidden or beneath the surface. So this is where the main job is. Like I said, knowledge is certifiable, skills are certifiable. If someone goes to school and has a BSc, you can easily say he has a BSc. If he goes to school or goes to a technical school and acquires a certification in programming, you could actually say he has gone for programming. But the thing is, does he have the right attitude in good means with the knowledge and skills to be able to deliver performance? Does he have the right behavior? Does he have the right attitude? Does he have the right problem solving skills and all of that? So those ones, why they are not certifiable, they are the things that drive how productive and how effective the knowledge and the skills will be. All right. So in most cases, they call it soft skills. Soft. Competency studies of L.M. Spencer and S.M. Spencer. L.M. Spencer and S.M. Spencer gave the definition and structure of competency as 5 types of competency characteristics in the Iceberg model. So let's look what they have. Hence, competency is an individual underlying characteristics and is a fairly deep and enduring part of a person's personality and can predict behavior in a wide variety of situations and job tasks. Competency is causally related to effective and superior performance in a job or situation and actually predicts who does something well or poorly as measured on a specific criterion or standard. So these are some of the speculations or some of the postulations L.M. Spencer and S.M. Spencer brought. So the first thing they brought is on the basis of characteristics, personality, and behavior. driving it towards performance. And then they brought also the case of being sure that we measure performance and also measure competency to be sure that the competency is actually the one delivering the performance. Okay. Now, components of an iceberg model, you have the traits, self-image, skills, and knowledge, where the knowledge is as a root of it all. Now, from knowledge is the content, knowledge, or information in the field of work, from education to experience. You have the skills, ability to do something well. Most trained on, example, technical skills to use knowledge. Self-image, how people see or view themselves, identity or what. Example, an expert, a learner, a leader, a manager, an agent, an innovator. When you are defining who you are, it's always good you give yourself the right self-image. Okay. If you're a HR professional, then you say you're a HR professional. If you're an ED, you say you're an ED, you're executive director. Give yourself the image that will make you fit for the opportunities you're looking for. And if the images, these self-images or personal branding that we talk about, every one of us are responsible for building our self-image, not our job, not our organization. We do that. We are individually responsible for building our self-image. And one of the places you could build your self-image is on LinkedIn, your social media profiles. Now, by creating the kind of things you want people to know about you, that becomes part of your self-image. Your pictures, your brands, your content on the internet, or what you say, how you say them, okay? The kind of designations that come along with you, okay? And that's why when we tell people sometimes, maybe you go for a presentation, you have your professional appellation. So why don't you talk about them? My name is Susu. I am a certified HR professional, or I'm a certified global HR professional, and I'm a member of this. Those things build your self-image. Okay. If you're a chartered professional, say you're chartered. If you're licensed, say you're licensed. If you're certified, say you're certified. Okay. That builds your self-image. And that is also part of competency build-up. Now, traits, the habitual or enduring characteristics, e.g., flexibility, self-control, good listener, building trust, engages, inspires, then mindset. All of these are part of traits. Now, by the time we come back to do our competency mapping, you see, what we have here, what you see there on the screen is what we will use to map out what kind of people we want. You remember we did job analysis and job design in the general class, the HR generalist, right? Now, in competency design, you are now looking at designing the individual that will fit into that particular job you design. That's competency mapping, right? So here you have what kind of knowledge is the person supposed to have to be able to do certain work. So remember that strategic HRM is all about linking HR strategies to business strategies in order to achieve certain performance. So when you have HR strategies, you have business strategies, and all leading to performance. The question number one is, on the HR strategies, we have the job design strategies, and we have the person design strategies or competency. Right? So for the job design, yes, we had generic definition of what the qualifications look like, but being much more definite in helping us with interviewing. We want to have deep mapping of who this person should look like, an avatar, okay, of this person that we want to have in organization. So knowledge-wise, we have to be now much more detailed on the kind of knowledge this person is supposed to have. So let's say we need a project manager to work in a particular environment, okay, particular environment. So we say project manager for Northeast, For instance, in Nigeria, you will discover that, yes, there may be some generic knowledge, generic competencies, or basic competency one. But when you move on, there are other competencies who will not be knowledge-wise that will help the person perform more or perform better in that environment. So by the time you find out what it is, you write it down. You find what the skills are, okay, finding the core competencies, the workplace competencies, the basic and the professional, and then write it down here. Then the self-image, of course. I will always want us to put emphasis or lay back our mind to that resource-based view theory that I spoke about yesterday. I've also spoken about it this morning. Now, you see, this makeup, this complete makeup, it is the composition, the sum total of the knowledge, skills, self-image, and within an organization, the individuals, the sum total of their knowledge, skills, it is the sum total that make up the reputation of the organization. So it is also good for us to know that the self-image of the person you're bringing has its own reputation on the self-image of your organization. So what kind of self-image do you want to see? Now, notice something. Some people have good knowledge, excellent skills, but poor self-image. Some people have good, excellent self-image, but now they have poor skills and poor knowledge. Some have excellent self-image, poor skills, and excellent knowledge. Some have excellent skills, poor knowledge, great self-image, and poor threat. So you just want to have a mapping that will give you what you want. So by using what we have here, you can actually start your mapping. And then by the time you have 1,000 people, and then you're fixing them here, okay? Of course, 1,000 people, you will not be doing them one after the other. You do what we call simulation, right? And then you do your simulation. It will help you to know which of the candidates is a perfect match or near perfect to what you're looking out for. And then if you decide to hire some candidates, some people decide to hire based on self-image because they believe these people can influence the market or can influence people, right? So if you're hiring people based on self-image, then you know you have a responsibility to build the person up on skills, knowledge, and traits. Some hire based on knowledge. And then you know you have the responsibility to build the person's skills, self-image, and traits. Some hire based on knowledge and skills. So you have the responsibility to build on self-image. You see most banks, right? Or some banks, they hire based on knowledge and skills and with the potential of good self-image. Now, their whole role is to now make you have the kind of image they want you to have as regards to the organization. Okay. So these are just some of the things I would like us to have in mind going forward. Now, importance of Iceberg model. It is important to understand that there is a relation between competencies which are above the surface and those which lie beneath in an iceberg. The aspect of competencies which lie below the surface, like attitude, traits, thinking styles, etc., directly influence the usage of knowledge and skills to complete a job effectively. So let us try to understand this through an example. Consider that a highly qualified person with the perfect combination of skills and knowledge is chosen for an esteemed project. However, if the person is not happy to work with his new team members, he may not be able to perform to the best of his abilities. Developing the two levels of competencies also takes different routes. The visible competencies like knowledge and skills can be easily developed through training and skill building exercises. However, the behavioral competencies are rather difficult to assess and develop. It takes more time and effort, intensive exercises like psychotherapy, counseling, coaching, and mentoring, developmental experiences to be able to build the soft skills. Now look at the benefits of an iceberg model. We have micro benefits and then we have the macro benefits. The micro benefits include identifying and prioritizing skills, knowledge and personal attributes required for the job, use past and current behavior to predict future behavior, ensure consistency and fairness of selection process, minimize hiring risks, communicate clear expected behaviors to job holders for becoming superior performers. For the macro benefit, help to set core organizational capacities, align aggregate behavior to vision, strategies, priorities, and goals, promote positive behavioral change, introduce high performance qualities like job, family, and organization specific. Now, competency mapping, and this is where I may have to take a little pause. Competency mapping is the process of identifying or the process of identification of the competency required to perform successfully in a given job or role or a set of tasks at a given point of time. It generally examines two areas: emotional intelligence or emotional quotient and strengths of the individual in areas like team structure, leadership, and decision making. Now, competency mapping, let's go back to the iceberg, all right? Let's go back to the iceberg, right? So you see, this 90%, let's find, I want you to see something here. 10% of this whole thing we want to, the personality we want to recruit, 10% of his abilities are just tied towards knowledge and skills. And then attitude, strengths, thinking style, self-image, organizational fitness, and the like comprise 90%. So competency mapping is trying to help us understand, first, the emotional intelligence aspect of people have foundational role to play in making the most of the knowledge and skills they possess. Most often, we pay attention to the knowledge and skills without paying attention to the emotional dimensions, emotional intelligence dimension, the social intelligence dimension. And in my own view, I've always said it is character before knowledge and skills. It is character before knowledge and skills. My mentor will always say, it is better to hire someone with character and then train him than to hire someone who have knowledge and skills. Then you're looking now to build character in him. It is always difficult to build character, but it's easy to build knowledge and skills. It is difficult to build character. It is difficult to build the intangibles, the soft skills that we all look at. Most often it's difficult to build. So when you are recruiting, you want to have people who already have these characters developed in them. Okay, the emotional intelligence characters. Then you look at the strengths, like the ability of the person in team structure management, leadership management, and decision making. All right. The process of competency mapping consists of breaking a given role or job into each constituent tasks or activities and identifying the competencies like the technical, managerial, behavioral, conceptual knowledge, attitude, skills needed to perform the same successfully. In this particular course, in this particular level, we'll be dealing with advanced recruitment, okay? And competency modeling is already a form of, or competency mapping is already a form of advanced recruitment. But however, we'll create simulations. We'll have the use of ICT in distinguishing competencies that can help in better recruitment. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing in the advanced recruitment and selection. Okay, how do we run simulations? How do we use ICT to run simulations that can help us get better results? Okay. In most recruitment today, we have emotional intelligence tests going on before the technical tests and all of that. So organizations want to find out first, the people we are bringing in, do they have the right character? Do they have the right traits? Do they have the right social and emotional intelligence to be able to be in this organization? After we are done with the foundational issue, which is character-based issue, then we now move to the knowledge and the skills. Okay. In fact, in most organizations, after they are done with emotional intelligence tests, they go to self-image. Of course, self-image is still part of emotional intelligence, but self-image in this case is that they want to find out how influential is this person. Can this person create market for us? Can this person influence the market for us? That's a very important area. And then before they start looking at the knowledge and the skills you have. All right. So quickly, let's look at the steps to developing competency model. Number one, data gathering and preparation. We need enough data, enough data. I think it's in level 3, we'll be dealing with HR analytics. And my recommendation is make sure you complete this course to the end, right? Because there are a whole lot of things we are going to be adding to the general coursework we've done. So all the things we did in level 1, what we are just doing is that we are building more blocks on them. Okay, we are building more blocks on them, giving us practical dimensions to the applications of those knowledge. Okay, so we've built basic competencies in level 1. Now level 2, we are building differentiating competencies. The level 3, we are building much more differentiating competencies. So number 1, gather and prepare. Number 2, analyze data. Number 3, validate data. We need data to run simulations. We need data to create avatars of what this kind of person we are looking out for will look like. We need data to model this individual. We need data to be able to make sure that we have the right person for the job designed. Okay, very, very important. All right, so these are some of the things we have used here, and in your own spare time, you can take your time to review them. Now, competency-based behavioral interviewing, CBBI, this is also part of the advanced interviewing or advanced selection or recruitment and selection. However, the hiring process has also undergone a change. Therefore, a lot of emphasis is being put on the hidden. Please, I want us to put that in capital letters and red lines. Emphasis is now being put on the hidden behavioral aspects as well to make sound decisions on who to hire, who to recruit. They believe that behavioral aspects can be developed through proper guidance and good management. Most of the organizations look at just the visible components of competencies, the knowledge and the skills in the traditional method of hiring. Hence, a complete picture regarding the competence of a person consists of both visible and hidden aspects, and it becomes necessary to understand both to arrive at identifying the best man or the best woman for a job. This is where competency-based behavioral interview comes into picture. The question in CBBI are so structured so as to gather maximum information about the competency of the candidate and to make a right decision. Now, CBBI structuring, questions and probing. The lead question for the first competency is asked and then proceed to obtain an overview of the event. When we say the lead question we are looking at here is the question that will help us find out the behavioral composition of the person. If we're able to get to that point that this fear that is in us, it is solved, then we can move further. Okay, we can move further. Most often, the problem of organizations when it comes to hiring is that they do top-down hiring from top to bottom instead of from bottom to top. They apply a top-down approach to recruitment instead of bottom-up approach to recruitment. And in the advanced recruitment, our anchor is on bottom-up rather than top-down. Bottom up is that you using the competency-based model, the Iceberg competency model. Start from the intent, start from the motives, start from the behaviors. What are the hidden things about this person you want to know? You don't want to be taken unawares. But unfortunately, when we go for interviews and we say we want to do recruitment, we start from how many certifications do you have? How many degrees do you have? Those are not the lead questions. Those are not the foundational things we should be looking out for. Okay, very, very important. The event overview is the roadmap to structure how the candidate will provide the information. The event overview provides high-level overview of situations and tasks, actions, results of the candidate's movement. A few standard and generic questions are designed to obtain the overview of the most effective, obtain the overview in the most effective manner. We have the generic CBBI questions. These questions are applicable for all of the competencies. We have state a caption that describes the candidate's role in the event. Describe in 2 sentences what is the event about, who else was involved, and what was his or hers or their roles. What was your function at the time with respect to position or title? Why is this event a good example of a time when you rephrase the question that was asked? What were the major milestones and what was the outcome? One of the easiest ways to actually go about interviewing, especially the competency-based way, is that we use events. We use case studies. Okay, you generate case studies in similitude of the kind of environment the person is coming to work, in similitude of the kind of task the person will be performing, in similitude kind of exposure the person will be having, in similitude to the kind of team the person is going to be having. And that's why designing case studies for interviews is very, very important. Case study is storytelling. And then you want to, through storytelling, find out how the person will respond in such situations. Now, one thing about case studies is that it awakens every aspect of the person. The emotional intelligence aspect of the person, the social intelligence aspect of the person, the intellectual aspect of the person. It wakes all aspects up. So if you want to have a good CBBI-based approach to interviewing, it's good you use case studies. Most often, it might not be, or in some cases, it might not be written case studies. You could use audio visuals. Okay, you could use audio visuals. You have a well-dramatized event you could play on the screen for the person to watch and then give you his feedback. Now, remember that while you are developing the case study, you already have your structured scorecard, okay, on what level of information will this person respond to, and then you could say the person is highly emotionally intelligent, moderately emotional intelligence, or low emotional intelligence. What level of feedback will the person give you that will make you feel like, okay, the person has good knowledge of the work, moderate knowledge, or low no knowledge? You have your structured scorecard that you're going to use to review the person's responses to you, having gone through the case study or having watched the role play that you gave to him. And then some of the role plays, you might not be the one designing the role plays. You could search through the internet. You find some role plays already there. Okay, you could find them and then download and play them, and then ask the person his feedback on such kind of role plays. Now, having your scorecard, you rate, and then with the rating, you summarize at the end of the day. You sum them up, and then know whether the person is up for it or not. Asking questions or close-ended questions will not allow you to have a perfect person. Okay, and then even if you have an open-ended question, it's better if you want to have the best candidate. It's better we use the case study based approach, event based, similitude based approach. All right. Okay. All right. So somebody is saying in the chat room, he said, true. I once attended an interview where I was told to analyze the movie 300. Okay. So these are CBBI approaches. All right. Okay. Benefit of CBBI, competency-based behavioral interview. Key benefit is that it is a systematic, non-discriminatory technique that helps interviewers get the right information from applicants and make right hiring decisions. So it doesn't discriminate from anybody, okay? It doesn't discriminate on tribe, on religion, on color, on knowledge or whatsoever. No, it's open to every, if you can analyze the situation, you are open for the job. It takes into consideration past behaviors of relevant role to best predict future behavior on similar or higher role. It prevents biased and subjective hiring decisions. It limits the possibility of candidates faking it with vague generalization. So in the case of CBBI, it is difficult to fake because remember, when you're using the CBBI approach, you're creating a very comfortable environment that will not allow the person perceive any way to pretend. First, you create an environment that allows the person to be relaxed, very relaxed, very, very relaxed. Okay. And then you're asking the person, like, for instance, Mr. Doyin, talking about movie 300, the movie 300. Now you tell the person, do you know about this movie? And then ask you a question about the movie. And then you're talking out of excitement, you're talking out of passion. And then the person all of a sudden say, do you remember that place where the guy was pushed to the well? And I was like, oh, wow, yes, I remember. Okay, so what was your portion on that? Do you know your expressions when you are giving all those recap? It shows a whole lot. You can't pretend with the expression. Okay, there's one thing with behavior. You can't pretend with behavior for long. You can't pretend with behavior for long. Very soon it will be found out. Okay. All right. Quickly, Richard Hadley has just joined as the HR head in a multinational company. He finds that despite his new company having a talented, qualified workforce, the organization is not completing its project efficiently and successfully. Number one, what do you think could be the reasons for this? Number two, what should Richard do to change the competency levels of the existing workforce? And number three, what should Richard do to make sure that the new hires are competent enough to do their jobs? Can we get our responses? 1, 2, 3. Anyone you choose, please go ahead and let's hear from you. We are rounding up now. So if you've been following us in this class, let's hear from you. What should Richard do? Okay. I have about 5 minutes to round up my class. So I've spoken for about 30 something minutes. Is it up to 30 something? Yeah, we're spoken for close to an hour, if not more. Okay, so can I hear from us? This is the case study before us. And if you have a question, you could ask me anyway. If you have a question, you could ask me your questions now. If you have a question, ask me your questions now. In summary, competencies refer to skills or knowledge that leads to superior performance. Competencies are individual abilities or characteristics that are key to effectiveness in work. Competency mapping is the process of identification of the competencies required to perform successfully in a given job or role or a set of tasks at a given point of time. The Iceberg model of competencies takes the help of an iceberg to explain the concept of competency. A competency also has some components which are visible, like knowledge and skills, but other behavioral components like attitude, traits, thinking styles, self-image, organizational fit are hidden or beneath the surface. All right, thank you so much. If there are questions, please, I would like to take them now. Questions, contributions, please feel free. Let's share our thoughts and then we'll be out of here. So in class today, I have Mr. Adebisi, Mr. Adeyemi, Mrs. Alice, Mr. Alvin Mas, Mrs. Christiana, Mr. Doi, Dr. Alice, Mrs. Martha, Mr. Nju, and Mr. Ugunmakiwa. So questions, contributions, your question, your contribution will actually help me know that you've been in class. You did not just sign in and go to do gym. Okay. Please, everyone, kindly confirm you could hear me. If you can hear me loud and clear, kindly type 11 in the chat room. You can hear me loud and clear. Please kindly type 11 in the chat room. Okay. So, wait, I hope the class was not jargon, because I'm done with the class and nobody responded to me. Or you can hear me. Hope I did not speak jargon. Dr. Alice, you have something to say? Hope I did not speak jargon. This one, nobody's talking to me. Nobody can hear. Okay. Oh. Thank you for your time. Okay, so this will be the class for the first section. No, this is the class we're supposed to have yesterday, but due to the fact that most of us were very engaged yesterday, we observed, so we decided to move the class this morning. So the class of today will be holding by 2 p.m. and the lecturer will be with you by 2 p.m. Now, Now, I want to ask a question. We have, can we have our classes? We have classes on Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Are we all comfortable with Sunday, or we should have Friday, Saturday? Sorry, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Are we all comfortable with Sunday? Or we should just do Friday, Saturday, and leave Sunday alone? Please let me hear from us.
I bet we should leave Sunday alone.
Sunday is just...
Let's leave Sunday alone. Oh. Let's leave
Sunday alone.
So that even if we cannot rock the whole of Saturday, Sunday we can rock. We can do Sunday in the evening.
Yes, of course. Our Sunday classes are evening classes anyway.
Anytime from 6 p.m.
Our Sunday classes are evening classes. Okay, so we have some concern, and that's why we're asking. We have some concern.
Friday
we have some
Saturday,
concern, and the concern is that this period is gradually getting so overwhelming with a whole lot of activities. We have trainings running concurrently. We have induction coming up in December. We have our master's program, postgraduate programs with Uni Abuja coming up all in this same diet. So several things are running concurrently, and we want to make the most use of our time. We don't want to say, go and read for your exam. No, we want to make sure that we are training everyone. So please, since we've already scheduled Sunday and we agreed Sunday, so we'll just do Sunday evening, even if it's just 2 hours, maybe 4 to 6, but we'll allow you to have a good rest on Sunday, okay? So we can do just one section on Sunday, and then we'll have Friday and Saturday. Our admonition, or my admonition to us, is that let's try as much as we can to clear our tables on Friday, and then let's make the most of Saturday and then Sunday evening so that we can cope. I think we only have 2 weeks assigned to this course. That's about 5 days assigned to this particular course. So let's see how to make the most of it. And please, if you've not made the necessary commitments, please endeavor to do so. See you by 2 p.m. Enjoy your wonderful weekend. For those of us writing exam, please take the time to read your books or read your materials and prepare for your exam. Okay. For those of us who have completed the HR level since April, May, and your certificate is still in the office, please, we need you to come and collect them, especially those of us in Abuja. Okay, your soft copies had been sent long time ago, but the hard copies are still in the office. Okay. Yes, the people we are talking, they know themselves. All right. Thank you so much.
Doctor, do you want to mention names? Don't mention names, please.
No, we are not mentioning names. All right. Thank you so much. For those of us that joined a little late, the class is already on YouTube. Please take your time and view it before the next section. Do enjoy a wonderful weekend. God bless you.